The space station Concordia floated in the darkness between two solar systems. It was built for meetings like this one. Humans had never seen anything like it before. The station was huge, with shining metal walls and crystal windows that sparkled like diamonds. Ships from many different worlds docked here to talk and make deals. Lee Tae-ho stood at the large window in his small room. He watched the stars and thought about the day ahead. Today would change everything for humanity. The Nexari Empire had finally agreed to meet with Earth's people. Tae-ho was the leader of the human team. He used to be a soldier, but now he worked as a diplomat. His job was to make friends with alien races. The Nexari were famous across the galaxy. They had conquered many worlds with their powerful ships and strong bodies. Their empire stretched across dozens of star systems. No one had ever beaten them in war. Humans hoped to become their allies, not their enemies. Tae-ho's team was small but skilled. Commander Kim So-ra handled military matters. She was tough and smart, with short black hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. Park Jin-woo was their engineer and medic. He could fix almost anything and heal most injuries. Choi Hana was their best pilot. She could fly any ship, no matter how strange or difficult. A soft chime filled the room. It was time for the meeting. Tae-ho put on his best uniform and walked to the main meeting hall. The corridor was long and wide, with alien artwork on the walls. Other diplomats from different worlds nodded as he passed. Everyone knew this meeting was important. The meeting hall was enormous. The ceiling was so high it seemed to touch the stars. Tables and chairs were arranged in a circle. Humans sat on one side waiting quietly. They looked small compared to the huge room. Then the Nexari arrived. The doors opened with a sound like thunder. Queen Velandra entered first, and Tae-ho's breath caught in his throat. She was 3 meters tall, much bigger than any human. Her skin looked like living crystal, with blue and purple lights moving under the surface. The lights showed her emotions and status. Right now, they showed pride and power. Behind her came General Kethrix and other important Nexari. They all wore armor that seemed to be made from the same crystal as their skin. Their weapons hummed with energy. Each Nexari looked like they could fight 10 humans and win easily. Queen Velandra sat in a throne that had been brought specially for her. She looked down at the humans like a giant looking at ants. Her eyes were bright white with no pupils that humans could see. When she spoke, her voice was deep and musical, but there was coldness in it. "So these are the humans we have heard about," she said. Her words were translated by machines so both sides could understand. "You are smaller than I expected." Ambassador Morthak, the Nexari diplomat, gestured toward the humans. "Your Majesty, they wish to show you their capabilities before we discuss trade." Tae-ho stood up slowly. He was calm even though his heart was beating fast. This was the moment they had prepared for. "Your Majesty, we are honored to meet you. Humanity offers friendship and cooperation to the great Nexari Empire." The Queen's skin lights flickered in what might have been amusement. "Friendship? What could your tiny race possibly offer us?" Tae-ho nodded to his team. They had prepared demonstrations to show human skills and technology. Sora stepped forward first. She activated a hologram that showed Earth's military forces. Ships, weapons, and soldiers appeared in the air above the table. "Humans may be smaller, but we are resourceful," Sora said. "We have defeated enemies much larger than ourselves through strategy and cooperation." Queen Velandra watched the hologram with interest, but then she laughed. It was not a kind laugh. "Your ships are like toys compared to ours. Your weapons look weak. How many of your soldiers would it take to equal one Nexari warrior?" General Kethrix leaned forward. "Perhaps we should not judge too quickly, Your Majesty." "Nonsense," the Queen replied. "Look at them, Kethrix. They are soft and small. Their lives are so short they barely have time to learn anything useful. What threat could such fragile creatures be?" Jinwoo stood up next. He had brought examples of human technology and medicine. He showed devices that could heal wounds quickly, and computers that could solve complex problems. The Nexari examined them with mild interest. "Clever," Queen Velandra admitted, "but still the work of a weak species. You make tools because you cannot rely on your own strength." Hana demonstrated her piloting skills using a flight simulator. She flew through dangerous asteroid fields and enemy attacks with incredible skill. The simulation showed reflexes and creativity that impressed even some of the Nexari observers. But Queen Velandra was not impressed. "Pretty tricks," she said. "But can your pilot fight a real battle against real enemies?" "I think not." The demonstrations continued for an hour. Each time the humans showed something they were proud of. Each time Queen Valandra found ways to dismiss it as unimportant. She compared human strength to Nexari strength, human technology to Nexari technology, human lifespan to Nexari lifespan. In every comparison, humans came up short. Your species is interesting, the Queen finally said, like pets that have learned to use tools. But you are not warriors. You are not conquerors. You are barely more than animals that have learned to speak. Teho felt anger rising in his chest, but he kept his face calm. Sora's hands were clenched into fists under the table. Jinwoo looked hurt by the insults. Hana stared at the Queen with barely controlled fury. Perhaps, Teho said quietly. Your Majesty judges too quickly. Humans have survived many dangers. We may be small, but we do not give up easily. Survive? Queen Valandra's lights pulsed brighter. Any animal can survive by running and hiding. That is not strength. That is cowardice. The Queen stood up, her crystal armor gleaming. I have made my decision. The Nexari Empire will offer your people a small trade agreement. You may sell us some of your clever little devices. In return, we will protect you from the real dangers of the galaxy. Consider yourselves fortunate. Many species do not even get that much from us. Ambassador Morthak began preparing the documents. The trade agreement was tiny compared to what the humans had hoped for. They would be treated like junior partners, almost like servants. General Kethrix approached Teho during a break in the proceedings. Do not take the Queen's words too personally, he said quietly. She judges by Nexari standards. Your people may be more dangerous than she realizes. Dangerous? Teho asked. You came here alone so far from your home to face beings much more powerful than yourselves. That takes a kind of courage my people rarely show. We prefer to fight only when we are sure of victory. Before Teho could respond, alarm sirens began blaring throughout the station. Red lights flashed in the corridors. The meeting hall's windows showed space filling with strange, dark ships that seemed to be made of living metal. Queen Valandra's skin lights turned bright white with fear. Impossible, she whispered. They were destroyed centuries ago. Who? Teho asked, but he already knew this was bad news. The Devourers, General Kethrix said, his voice filled with old terror. They have returned. Outside the station, massive biomechanical ships moved like hungry predators. They had found new prey and the hunt was about to begin. The alarm sirens screamed louder. Everyone in the meeting hall ran to the windows to see what was happening. The space around Concordia Station was filling with ships that looked like nightmares. They were black and twisted with parts that moved like they were alive. Some ships had tentacles that reached out toward the station. Others had mouths full of metal teeth. Queen Valandra stared at the enemy fleet with wide eyes. Her crystal skin had turned pale and the lights under her surface flickered with fear. This cannot be real, she whispered. We destroyed them. We burned their worlds. We scattered their fleets across the void. General Kethrix was already talking into his communication device. All Nexari ships prepare for battle. Raise shields and charge weapons. This is not a drill. Teho watched the enemy ships move closer. They did not fly like normal spacecraft. They moved like sea creatures swimming through dark water. Some of them pulsed with sick green light. Others seemed to absorb light, making the space around them darker. What are the Devourers? Teho asked. Queen Valandra turned to him, and for the first time she looked at him like he was a real person instead of an animal. They are death itself. They consume everything, planets, stars, entire civilizations. They take what they eat and make it part of themselves. The largest enemy ship was approaching the station. It was bigger than a city, with a hull that looked like it was made from bones and metal twisted together. Strange symbols glowed on its surface, and Teho could see movement inside transparent sections. Things that might once have been living creatures now served as parts of the ship itself. That is the ship of High Priest Zulvan, General Kethrix said. His voice was tight with old fear. He leads the Devourer fleet. We thought he was dead. The station shook as the first energy weapons hit the shields. The Concordia's defenses were meant to stop small raids, not a full fleet attack. Warning lights flashed as shield power dropped rapidly. Commander Sora stepped forward. Your Majesty, my team can help defend the station. We have combat experience. Queen Valandra looked at her with surprise. You? What could 4 humans do against the Devourers? More than you might think, Teho said calmly. We may be small, but we are not helpless. Before the Queen could answer, explosions rocked the station. Parts of the hull were being torn away by Devourer weapons. Through the holes, dark shapes began pouring into the corridors. They looked like insects made from metal and flesh with too many legs and glowing red eyes. "Boarding parties!" General Ketherix shouted. "The Devourers are inside the station." The meeting hall's main doors burst open. A group of Nexari guards ran in, firing their crystal weapons at something in the hallway behind them. One of the guards was screaming. Something small and dark was attached to his back, burrowing into his armor. "Help him," Queen Valandra commanded. Jinwoo was already moving. The human medic grabbed his medical kit and ran toward the wounded guard. He pulled out a tool that looked like a small sword made of light. With quick, precise cuts, he removed the creature from the guard's back and sealed the wound. "How did you know to do that?" the guard gasped. "I read about parasite removal on the way here," Jinwoo said simply. "I always study medical techniques of different species." More creatures poured through the doorway. They moved fast, jumping from wall to wall like spiders. The Nexari guards fired their weapons, but the creatures were hard to hit. Some that were shot just split into smaller pieces that kept attacking. Hana pulled out a human weapon, much smaller than the Nexari crystal guns. She fired rapidly, not at the creatures themselves, but at the walls and ceiling above them. Pieces of debris fell down, crushing several attackers. "Smart," General Ketherix said with approval. "Use the environment as a weapon." Sora was coordinating the defense. She moved the civilians to the back of the hall and positioned the guards at choke points. "Overlapping fields of fire," she called out. "Don't let them get close." Taeho noticed something the others had missed. The creatures were not attacking randomly. They were trying to capture people alive, not kill them. "They want prisoners," he said. "They're hurting us, not hunting us." "Of course," Queen Valandra said with horror. "The Devourers do not just kill. They convert. They turn living beings into more of themselves." A new sound echoed through the station. It was like singing, but wrong. The voice was beautiful and terrible at the same time. The creatures stopped attacking and began retreating toward the exits. "High Priest Zulvan is calling them back," General Ketherix said. "He wants to talk." The main screen in the meeting hall flickered to life. A face appeared that had once been handsome but was now a mixture of flesh and machine. Half of the face was still recognizably alive. The other half was metal and wires, with a red eye that glowed like a star. "Queen Valandra," the thing said in a voice like honey poured over broken glass. "You have grown old since our last meeting." "Zulvan," the queen replied. "You should be dead. Death is just another form of existence," the high priest said. "I have transcended such simple concepts. I have become something greater. You have become an abomination." Zulvan laughed, a sound that made everyone in the hall shiver. "I have become perfection, and soon you will join me. Your empire, your people, your precious crystal cities, all will become part of the great work." "Never," Queen Valandra said. "You cannot stop us this time. We have learned. We have grown. We have consumed 100 worlds since our last defeat. Each victory makes us stronger." The screen showed images of destroyed planets. Worlds that had been green and alive were now gray and dead, their surfaces covered with the same twisted metal and flesh that made up the Devourer ships. "I offer you one chance," Zulvan continued. "Surrender now and I will make your conversion swift. Resist and I will make it last for centuries." Queen Valandra straightened to her full height. Her skin blazed with angry light. "The Nexari do not surrender. Then you will be consumed, starting with this pathetic station." The screen went dark. Immediately the attack resumed with new fury. More Devourer ships appeared from hyperspace. The station's shields failed completely. Holes were torn in the hull as biomechanical weapons ate through the metal like acid. "We have to evacuate," General Ketherix said. "The station is lost." Queen Valandra looked around the meeting hall. Her guards were brave, but they were outnumbered. The other diplomats from various worlds were panicking. Then her eyes fell on the humans. Taeho was helping Jinwoo treat wounded guards. Sora was still giving orders, organizing the retreat with calm efficiency. Hana was studying the enemy attack patterns on her portable computer. "You offered to help," the queen said to Taeho. "The offer still stands," he replied. "Even though I mocked your people, called you weak?" Taeho looked at her with steady eyes. "Your Majesty, people say things when they are afraid or proud. What matters is what we do when real danger comes." For the first time since Taeho had met her, Queen Valandra smiled. It was not a kind smile, but it was real. "Very well, human. Show me what your weak species can do." The evacuation began immediately. Nexari and human ships docked with the station to take on refugees. But the Devourer fleet was fast, and more ships kept arriving. Soon they would be completely surrounded. Where can we go? Sora asked. They'll follow us wherever we run. Queen Valandra's expression grew grim. There is only one place. My homeworld. If we must make our stand, it will be there. The combined fleet began moving toward Nexari space. Behind them, Concordia Station was being consumed by the Devourers. The metal and crystal were being reshaped into something alien and horrible. As they fled through hyperspace, Tejo watched Queen Valandra. She was learning that sometimes even the strongest people needed help. And sometimes that help came from the most unexpected places. The real battle was just beginning. The combined fleet dropped out of hyperspace near Nexus Prime, the Nexari homeworld. Tejo expected to see a beautiful planet with crystal cities and peaceful skies. Instead, he saw a world under attack. Nexus Prime was covered in smoke and fire. The planet's surface showed huge scars where Devourer weapons had struck. In orbit around the world, massive creatures floated in space like metal whales. They were bigger than battleships with tentacles that reached down toward the planet's surface. World crackers, General Ketherick said with horror. The Devourers are trying to consume the entire planet. Queen Valandra stared at her dying homeworld. Her crystal skin had gone completely white with shock. How long have they been here? She whispered. Unknown, Your Majesty, came the reply from her flagship's captain. Our communication networks have been destroyed. We cannot reach the surface. The fleet moved closer to the planet. More details became visible through the ship's screens. The beautiful crystal cities were broken and burning. The Nexari defense fleet was scattered, fighting desperate battles against enemies that seemed to multiply every time they were damaged. Tejo watched a Nexari battleship attack one of the world crackers. The ship fired all its weapons at once, creating explosions that lit up space like small suns. But when the light faded, the world cracker was still there. The damage had already healed itself and new weapons had grown from the wounds. Traditional tactics are not working, Sora observed. Your people are fighting like this is a normal war. How else should we fight? General Ketherick demanded. Like it's not a war at all, Tejo said quietly. Like it's a rescue mission. Queen Valandra turned to him. Explain. The Devourers want to consume your planet and your people. They are not trying to conquer you in the usual sense. They want to change you into something else, so we cannot fight them like normal enemies. Hana was studying the tactical displays on her portable computer. The world crackers are like parasites, she said. They attach to the planet and slowly eat it from the inside. But parasites have weak points. What kind of weak points? The Queen asked. Jinwoo had been examining medical data about Devourer biology. Parasites need to stay connected to their food source, he said. If you cut the connection, they die. The tentacles, Sora realized. They're not just weapons. They're feeding tubes. Tejo nodded. If we can cut enough of them, the world crackers will starve and die. General Ketherick looked skeptical. Our weapons cannot cut through those tentacles. We have tried. You have tried to destroy them completely, Tejo said. But what if we just damaged them? Made them leak? That is madness, the general protested. It would require getting very close to the world crackers. Any ship that tried would be destroyed. Maybe, Tejo said, or maybe we just need to be smarter about how we get close. Queen Valandra studied the human diplomat. You have an idea. Several ideas. But they will require your people to fight in ways they never have before. Show me. Tejo gathered his team around a holographic display of the battle. He pointed to the patterns of Devourer attacks. Look how they move. They respond to threats the same way every time. Big explosion, they send more ships. Direct attack, they focus all their defenses on the attacker. Of course they do, General Ketherick said. That is logical. But it is also predictable, Sora added. We can use their logic against them. Hana manipulated the display to show flight paths. Small ships moving fast, coming from unexpected angles. Hit-and-run attacks. Never stay in one place long enough for them to focus their defenses. Guerrilla warfare, Jinwoo said. Like fighting a much larger enemy when you are outnumbered. Queen Valandra was quiet for a long moment. Finally, she spoke. The Nexari way is to meet our enemies face to face, in honorable combat. Your Majesty, Tejo said gently. Honor will not save your people if they are all dead. The Queen's lights flickered with internal struggle. Everything he was suggesting went against thousands of years of Nexari military tradition. But her planet was dying and traditional methods were failing. "What do you need?" she asked. The first attack came 3 hours later. A mixed force of human and Nexari ships approached one of the smaller world crackers. But instead of attacking it directly, they scattered in all directions when they got close. The world cracker's defenses tried to target all the ships at once, but could not focus on any single target. Meanwhile, the smallest ship slipped through the defensive fire and struck at the base of the feeding tentacles. Jinwoo had modified the weapons using human and Nexari technology together. Instead of trying to cut through the tentacles completely, the weapons created small holes that made the feeding tubes leak their contents into space. "It is working," General Kethrick said with amazement. "The creature is weakening, but the Devourers adapted quickly. More ships arrived to protect the world crackers. Biomechanical fighters that looked like metal insects swarmed toward the attacking fleet. Phase 2, Sora announced. She led a group of ships in a direct attack on the new defenders, drawing their attention away from the real target. While the Devourer fighters chased Sora's ships, Hana led another group in from a completely different direction. Her ships moved like dancers, weaving between the world cracker's tentacles and striking at weak points that Jinwoo had identified. The strategy worked, but it required perfect timing and coordination. One mistake could mean death for entire crews. Taeho found himself fighting alongside Queen Valandra in her personal ship. The Queen was an excellent warrior, but she had never fought like this before. She was used to direct confrontation, not sneaky attacks and running away. "This feels like cowardice," she said as they retreated from a group of Devourer ships. "This feels like survival," Taeho replied. "Your Majesty, there is no shame in using your brain instead of just your strength." They attacked 3 more world crackers using the same tactics. Each time, the strategy worked a little better as the Nexari soldiers learned to fight in new ways. But each time, the Devourers adapted too, making the next attack harder. After 6 hours of fighting, they had destroyed 4 world crackers. But there were still dozens more, and the combined fleet was running out of ships and energy. "We cannot keep this up forever," General Kethrick said during a brief break between attacks. "We are losing ships faster than we can replace them." Queen Valandra looked exhausted. Fighting in this new way was harder than traditional combat, because it required constant thinking and adaptation. "Perhaps we should retreat to another system," she said reluctantly. "No," Taeho said firmly. "If we run, they will just follow us and do this to another world. We need to end this here." "How?" the Queen asked. "Even with your clever tactics, we cannot destroy all the world crackers before they finish consuming the planet." Taeho was quiet for a moment, studying the battle reports. Then he looked up with a strange expression. "What if we do not try to destroy them all?" "Explain." "The world crackers are connected to each other through some kind of network. They coordinate their attacks and share information. Jinwoo found traces of quantum communication between them." Jinwoo nodded. "It is like they are all parts of one giant organism. So if we could damage the network," Hana said. Understanding immediately, "we might be able to confuse all of them at once. Or better yet," Sora added, "we might be able to turn them against each other." Queen Valandra stared at the humans. "You want to hack into the Devourer network?" "Not hack," Taeho said. "Poison. Give them information that makes them think their own allies are enemies." It was a desperate plan. It would require getting very close to the largest world cracker, the one that seemed to coordinate all the others. It would mean flying directly into the most dangerous area of the battle. "I will lead the mission myself," Queen Valandra declared. "Your Majesty, you are too important to risk," General Kethrick protested. "My people are dying," the Queen said. "If there is a chance to save them, I must take it." Taeho looked at her with new respect. "Then we go together." The final attack began at dawn over Nexus Prime. As the planet's sun rose behind them, Queen Valandra and Taeho led a small fleet toward the heart of the enemy formation. Behind them, the rest of the combined forces prepared for the most dangerous battle of their lives. The attack on the largest world cracker was going well at first. Queen Valandra's ship and Taeho's team managed to get close to the massive creature. Jinwoo was preparing to inject the poison information into the Devourer network when all the enemy ships suddenly stopped fighting. "Something is wrong," Sora said, watching her tactical displays. "They are pulling back." The Devourer ships that had been attacking them moments before were now retreating to safe distances. Even the world crackers had stopped their feeding and were floating motionless in space. "It is a trap," General Kethrix warned over the communication system. "They want us to think we are winning." Before anyone could respond, the main screen flickered to life. High Priest Zulvan's twisted face appeared, but this time he was smiling. Half of his mouth was still flesh, and that half looked pleased. The metal half of his face glowed with red light. "Queen Velandra," he said in his honey-poisoned voice, "you have fought well. Your new tactics are interesting. Did you learn them from your human pets?" "They are not pets," the queen replied coldly. "They are allies," Zulvan laughed. "How touching." "The proud queen has learned to value lesser creatures, but it does not matter now." "You are too late." "Too late for what?" Teho asked. "To save your precious world, of course. You see, while you were playing your clever little games up here, my servants have been working deep beneath your planet's surface." The screen changed to show images from inside Nexus Prime. Deep underground, in the planet's core, something terrible was growing. It looked like a massive heart made of metal and flesh, with veins of dark energy spreading out through the planet's crust. "Behold the quantum virus," Zulvan said with pride. "My greatest creation. It will convert your entire world and everyone on it into pure devourer biomass in exactly 6 hours." Queen Velandra's crystal skin went completely white. "That is impossible. Our shields protect the planet's core." "Your shields protect against attacks from space," the High Priest replied. "But this virus was planted from within. My agents have been on your world for months, digging deeper and deeper until they reached the perfect spot." Jinwoo was frantically scanning the images with his medical equipment. "It is like a cancer," he said quietly. "It spreads through the planet's natural energy systems and changes everything it touches." "The conversion has already begun," Zulvan continued. "In 6 hours, every living thing on Nexus Prime will become part of the Devourer Collective. Your people, your cities, your memories, your souls, all will serve me. There must be a way to stop it," Teho said. Zulvan's smile grew wider. "Oh, but there is. Someone could carry a specialized EMP device down to the planet's core and detonate it manually. The electromagnetic pulse would destroy the virus completely." "Then we will do it," Queen Velandra declared. "You could try," the High Priest agreed, "but the journey through the infected tunnels would kill anyone who attempted it. The virus creates guardians to protect itself, creatures of living nightmare that attack both body and mind, and the radiation from the planet's core would be fatal to any organic being." "You are lying," General Kethrix said over the communication link. "Am I? Why would I lie about something you will discover soon enough? I tell you this because I want you to understand how hopeless your situation is. Your world will be consumed and there is nothing you can do to stop it." The screen went dark. Around them, the Devourer ships began to move again, but they were not attacking. They were forming a blockade to prevent anyone from reaching the planet's surface. Queen Velandra turned to Taiho. "Can your people build this EMP device?" Jinwoo was already working on his computer. "Yes, but it would be very powerful. Too powerful for remote detonation. Someone would have to carry it down there and activate it by hand." "I will go," the Queen said immediately. "Your Majesty, no," General Kethrix protested. "Your people need their queen alive." "My people need to be alive at all," she replied. "If I must die to save them, then I will die." Teho was quiet for a long moment, studying the data that Jinwoo had collected. Finally, he looked up at the Queen. "There is something else to consider." "What?" "Humans have different brain patterns than Nixari. Our neural systems are more chaotic, more adaptable. We might be able to resist the devourer parasites better than your people." Jinwoo nodded slowly. "The medical scans from the station attack support this. The creatures that tried to attach to human soldiers had more trouble integrating with our nervous systems." "What are you saying?" Queen Velandra asked, though she already knew. "I'm saying that a human might have a better chance of surviving the journey to the planet's core," Teho said calmly. "Absolutely not," the Queen said firmly. "I will not send someone else to die for my world." "Your Majesty," Sora said gently, "sending you would be sending someone else to die. You are not expendable." "Neither are you." Teho stood up and walked to the main screen. Outside, Nexus Prime continued to turn slowly in space. Even from orbit, they could see the infection spreading. Dark veins were appearing on the planet's surface as the quantum virus consumed more of the world's energy. "I've been thinking about what you said when we first met," Teho said without turning around. "You called humans weak, small, short-lived." "I was wrong," Queen Velandra said. Were you? Teho turned to face her. We are small compared to your people. We do live shorter lives. We are not as physically strong. Where are you going with this? The Queen asked. You were right about our weaknesses, but you were wrong about what they mean. Teho walked back to his chair. Humans are weak, so we learned to be clever. We are small, so we learned to work together. We live short lives, so we learned to make them count. Hana was studying the planet's surface through the ship's sensors. The infection is spreading faster now. We have maybe 5 hours before it reaches the major population centers. Your Majesty, Teho said, your people need their queen to rebuild their world after this is over. They need someone who can lead them into a new age, someone who can learn from what happened here. And what do my people need from humans? She asked. They need us to do what we do best, Teho replied. Survive the impossible. Succeed when everything is against us. Save people who matter more than we do. Queen Valandra stared at him for a long time. Her crystal skin flickered through different colors as she struggled with the decision. Finally, she spoke. I cannot order you to do this. You do not have to order me, Teho said. I volunteer. We volunteer, Sora corrected. If Teho goes down there, he does not go alone. The radiation will kill all of you, Queen Valandra said. Maybe, Jinwu said. Or maybe we will find a way to survive it. Humans are good at finding ways to survive. Hana was already calculating flight paths to the planet's surface. We will need to get past the Devourer blockade first. Leave that to us, General Kethrick said over the communication system. The Nexari fleet will create a diversion. Queen Valandra looked at each of the humans in turn. These small, weak, short-lived creatures were volunteering to die for her people. People who had mocked them and called them inferior. Why? She asked finally. Why would you sacrifice yourselves for us? Teho smiled. It was a sad smile, but it was also peaceful. Because that is what friends do for each other. The Queen's crystal skin blazed with light as tears began to flow from her strange white eyes. For the first time in her long life, she truly understood what strength meant. The countdown to planetary conversion had begun. In 5 hours, either Nexus Prime would be saved, or it would become a world of living nightmares. The fate of billions rested in the hands of 4 humans who had been called too weak to matter. The small human ship dropped through Nexus Prime's atmosphere like a falling star. Around them, the Nexari fleet was fighting the most desperate battle of their history, trying to keep the Devourer ships busy while Teho and his team reached the planet's surface. Hana piloted their ship through explosions and energy beams with incredible skill. Enemy fighters tried to intercept them, but she flew between the twisted spires of infected crystal cities using the planet's own architecture as cover. Landing site ahead, she called out. It does not look good. Through the front window, they could see where the quantum virus had first emerged from underground. The ground was torn open like a wound, revealing tunnels that pulsed with sick green light. Strange growths covered the nearby buildings, and things that might once have been trees now moved with their own terrible life. The ship touched down beside the largest tunnel entrance. Jinwu checked his EMP device one last time. It was small enough to carry, but powerful enough to destroy the virus in the planet's core, if they could get it there in time. 4 hours left, Sora said, checking her chronometer. The virus will finish converting the planet in 4 hours. They stepped out of the ship wearing protective suits that Jinwu had modified with Nexari technology. The air was thick and poisonous, filled with spores that tried to eat through their equipment. Even through the suit's filters, they could smell something like rotting flowers mixed with hot metal. The tunnel entrance was wide enough for a vehicle, but they would have to go on foot. Strange symbols were carved into the walls, glowing with the same sick light as the virus itself. As they walked deeper, the symbols began to move, rearranging themselves like living writing. It knows we are here, Teho said quietly. Good, Sora replied, checking her weapon. Let it know. The first attack came after they had walked for 20 minutes. The tunnel floor suddenly split open, and something like a giant worm made of metal and flesh erupted from below. It had no eyes but dozens of mouths filled with spinning teeth. Hana threw herself to one side as the creature struck where she had been standing. Jinwu fired his modified weapon at the thing's side, opening holes that leaked black fluid. But the wounds closed almost immediately. The bullets are not working, Jinwu called out. Then we use something else, Teho said. He pulled out a small explosive and threw it into one of the creature's mouths. The explosion came from inside, and this time the wounds did not heal, Internal damage, Sora understood. We have to get the weapons inside them. They fought their way deeper into the tunnels. More creatures attacked them. Things that looked like spiders with human faces, floating orbs that screamed with the voices of the converted, walls that suddenly came alive and tried to crush them. Each battle was harder than the last. The creatures were learning from their mistakes, adapting to human tactics faster than expected. And the humans were getting tired. After 2 hours of fighting, they reached a massive chamber deep underground. The walls were covered with biomechanical growths that pulsed like heartbeats. In the center of the chamber, a pillar of twisted metal and flesh stretched from floor to ceiling. That is not the core, Jinwoo said, checking his instruments. We are still kilometers away from the planet's center. But this is important, Taeho said, studying the pillar. It is like a relay station. The virus uses it to coordinate the conversion process. Sora was examining the chamber's exits. There were 3 tunnels leading deeper underground, but they were all filled with creatures that looked like living nightmares. We cannot fight through all of them. We do not have to, Hana said. She was looking up at the ceiling. There is a shaft that goes straight down. If we could collapse it, we could fall directly toward the core. That is insane, Jinwoo protested. We would fall for kilometers. Only if we do it wrong, Hana replied with a grim smile. They worked together to plant explosives around the chamber's support pillars. When the charges went off, the entire chamber began to collapse. But instead of falling straight down, they used their suit's emergency thrusters to control their descent, bouncing off the walls of the shaft like they were skiing down a mountain. The plan almost worked. They managed to fall past most of the infected areas, using their thrusters to slow their descent as they approached the planet's core. But the landing was rough and Jinwoo's suit was damaged when they hit the bottom. I am hurt, he said, trying to stand. My leg is broken and the suit is leaking. We carry you, Taeho said immediately. No. Jinwoo pulled out the EMP device and handed it to Taeho. You go ahead. I will hold off anything that tries to follow you. Jinwoo, no, Hana said. Someone has to stay, Jinwoo said calmly. The creatures are following us down the shaft. If they reach you while you are trying to activate the device, we all fail. Before anyone could argue, they heard sounds from above. Creatures were pouring down the shaft they had just fallen through. Jinwoo was right. Someone had to delay them. Tell my family I tried to do something good, Jinwoo said. Then he turned toward the approaching enemies and began firing his weapon. The remaining 3 humans ran toward the planet's core. The tunnels here were different, older, and stranger. The walls were covered with crystals that sang with harmonic frequencies that made their teeth ache. The air was so thick with radiation that their suits' alarms were constantly beeping. They could hear Jinwoo fighting behind them for several minutes. Then the sound stopped and they knew he was gone. He saved us time, Taeho said quietly. We use it well. The core chamber was enormous, like standing inside a hollow planet. In the center, the quantum virus had grown into something that looked like a mechanical tree made of metal and flesh. Its branches reached in all directions, connected to cables and organic tubes that carried the infection to every part of the planet. But the virus was protected. Creatures that looked like living armor surrounded the base of the tree. They were bigger and more dangerous than anything the humans had faced before. I will clear a path, Hana said. She had modified her weapon with the last of their explosive charges. Get to the core and activate the device. Hana, Sora started to protest. No arguments, Hana said. We are running out of time. She ran toward the guardian creatures, firing her weapon and shouting to get their attention. The plan worked. All of the guardians turned toward her, leaving the path to the virus core open. Taeho and Sora ran through the opening Hana had created. Behind them, they could hear her fighting impossible odds with courage that would make legends, but like Jinwoo, they knew she would not survive. They reached the base of the viral tree just as Hana's weapon finally went silent. 30 minutes left, Sora said, checking the countdown. Will the device work from here? Taeho was studying the virus structure with Jinwoo's scanner. No. It has to be placed at the exact center where all the branches connect. Up there. He pointed to a platform high up in the viral tree surrounded by electrical discharges and toxic clouds. I will climb up and place it, Sora said. No, Taeho said quietly. I will do it, and why you and not me? Taeho looked at her with eyes that had already accepted death. Because you are stronger than me. If something goes wrong, If the device does not work perfectly, you might survive long enough to try again. I would not, Sora stared at him. That is not true. Yes, it is. Tejo took the EMP device and began climbing the viral tree. And you know it. The climb was nightmarish. The tree's branches tried to grab him. Electrical discharges burned through his suit and the toxic atmosphere was eating away at his equipment. But he kept climbing one step at a time until he reached the center platform. The quantum virus's core was beautiful in a terrible way. It pulsed with rainbow colors and sang with frequencies that tried to rewrite his thoughts. Tejo could feel it trying to convert him, to make him part of the Devourer collective. He placed the EMP device exactly where Jin Wu had calculated it needed to go. But when he tried to activate it, nothing happened. The radiation had damaged the device's trigger mechanism. Sora, he called down. The device is broken. I have to detonate it manually. That will kill you, she called back. I know. Tejo began connecting wires, turning the EMP device into a manual bomb. Tell Queen Velandra that humans keep their promises. Tejo, wait. Maybe there is another way. There is no other way, he said peacefully. There never was. He thought about his home on Earth, about the stars he would never see again, about Queen Velandra and her people living free. Then he connected the final wire. The EMP explosion was unlike anything that had ever happened on Nexus Prime. It spread outward from the planet's core in waves of pure electromagnetic energy, destroying every piece of Devourer technology it touched. The quantum virus died instantly, its biomechanical components unable to function without their electronic support systems. The wave continued upward, reaching the planet's surface and spreading into space. Every Devourer ship in the system was disabled. The world crackers fell silent and began drifting helplessly. On the planet's surface, the infected areas began to return to normal. The twisted growths withered away, the poisoned air cleared, and the crystal cities began to heal themselves. In space, Queen Velandra watched the energy wave spread outward from her homeworld. She knew that Te,